The American Diabetes Association reported that in 2012, 29.1 million Americans were diagnosed with diabetes. This is roughly about 1 in every 10 Americans. Now, of this patient population, about 15% will develop foot ulcers. Foot ulcers are sores that occur on the bottom of their feet that are very painful, and if they are allowed to progress or if they become infected, can lead to amputation. Out of all diabetics, 1 in every 6 will need an amputation due to foot ulcers. Now, obviously, this is a very painful and potentially life-changing problem. Thus, there is a need to prevent them from happening. Recent research has found that tissue stiffness of the diabetic foot increases when they are diagnosed with diabetes. Now, this means that as a patient walks, the deformation they would see in their foot tissue requires an abnormally large amount of pressure to create. Now, this increase in tissue stiffness also leads to an increased risk for ulcer development. And I propose that I can use tissue stiffness to be able to predict ulcer development and thus help prevent ulcers from occurring. In order to do this, I need a dynamic experiment. What I mean by this is that it's impractical to measure the stiffness while a person is standing still, because this doesn't represent their lifestyle. Instead, I want to have it measured while they're moving and walking, because as I measure the stiffness while they're walking, it better represents what they would do in everyday activities. In order to do this, I've created an experiment that utilizes 2 cameras, as you see in orange, a force platform outlined in red, and a lighting system. This will image and measure the forces as diabetics and non-diabetic patients walk across the force platform. This setup will give me information that I can use to calculate the tissue deformation and the forces required to create that deformation in the foot. I will then feed this information into a computer algorithm. This algorithm will go through several calculations in order to calculate the stiffness of the tissue. Once I have calculated the stiffness of the tissue for both diabetics and non-diabetics, I will be able to calculate a stiffness threshold. This will be done by comparing the 2 groups and finding out where they are different. This stiffness threshold, I theorize, will mark the level that if stiffness increases beyond that, ulcers will occur in diabetic patients. I will use this threshold to predict ulcers in diabetic patients, and if I am successful, I will be able to tell the physician where and when the ulcers will occur, thus allowing them to treat the patient. Now, if I'm successful, I will be able to help prevent ulcers from occurring on these diabetics and help them maintain the normal lifestyle they thoroughly deserve. Thank you for listening.